All right.
All right. Well, hey everyone, I'm joined today with Haseo. How are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. First time doing one of these, so I hope I don't embarrass myself too much. But looking forward to this.
Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. Well, hey everyone, I'm joined today. What's your GamerGate story? How are you doing today?
I was actually kind of a late arrival because I was not really into Twitter when it started, and I basically I'd heard something about there's some story about gamers being sexist or something like. Well, that sounds kind of like just complete. That doesn't sound like a full story, you know. So I kind of ignored it at the time. I think it was the incident where the Honey Badgers got kicked out of the Calgary Comic Expo. I was reading an article on that. Like, what? How did they get GamerGate? What? That thing from like months ago? What? I start looking up like, and just the rabbit hole just kept going deeper and deeper. Gigi was a little less than a year old when I finally joined, but it was just like, wow, I can't believe I missed out on this, but I'm not going to miss out anymore. So,
What do you think it was that you were missing out on?
kind of just like reading like from the Gamers to Dead articles and starting to see like the like just like insane pushback we're getting, where it was like like news coverage of of angry tweets from random people and all this kind of like pushback, and then meanwhile I'm reading just people have pretty reasonable concerns that are just being ignored, and there's this like two completely different stories going on. And I was just, the more I read, like seeing, the pushback of, like someone, saying support and then, getting pushback, and then, it was just the degree, like the intensity of it was just kind of mind blowing. Or it's, there's something going on here, and I kind of want to jump in and see what's going on there. And yeah, I've found, a lot of interesting people I would have gotten to interact with otherwise, and yeah, it was a very, very interesting time.
Well, when you got involved with the pro GamerGate side. Why
Oh
did you
yes, I did.
choose to do that instead of the anti-GamerGate community?
Well, I've like I was a gamer in general, and just I didn't really like seeing like what the anti-Gamergate side stood for. A lot was a lot of it was just shutting down discussion. Where like honestly, my political views and stuff were a lot less nuanced than they were then. But starting to see them trying to shut down debate at all those points really got me to appreciate the value of free speech in a way I hadn't before. And it was just like one side was willing to have these discussions. Once I was trying to shut everything down and scream insults, and let's be fair, Gamergate had the better joke. So
What kind of discussions were they not allowing to take place?
like well, like going into like the Gamers Dead articles, for example, like a lot of them like portrayed it as there is no other side. Like they might be saying stuff about ethics and game journalism, but they don't mean that. They're just screaming about nothing, or maybe women, but they're just screaming. Their words have no value. Like we're like the reasonable, nuanced position. There is no other. And I starting to see like a lot of that was like a lot of the push, like a lot of the things that a lot of GGers were noticing at the time was it was difficult to have discussions because you would get blocked or like or given like mass or given like insults, or like you hate this person, like this group, like this ideology, or it's just more a matter of like like I don't think like for example the whole covering giving favorable game coverage to someone that you were sleeping with or living with in a couple of those cases. It was just there was never a like I see where you're coming from kind of aspect. I mean, there were, but like a lot of the big voices were very much there can't be others on the AGG side. where GamerGate was a lot more of the like we want to be heard. Like we'll keep shouting until someone listens, and did get people who did.
Why do you think that these people had such a negative view of GamerGate and decided that they wanted to actively oppose it?
I think a lot of it, like from there's kind of a couple different layers to it. There's the social justice aspect of it, which was a lot of the GamerGate pushback was against that, which became kind of a, if you oppose that, then you oppose, equality or, that kind of thing. So that means that you're a bigot, like you hate women, you hate minorities, all that kind of stuff. And on more the game journalism side of it, that was there, but there was also because rereading some of the Gamers Are Dead stuff now, it's just there's this real
Oh, to be
sense.
clear, sorry, I meant the general anti-GamerGate community, not just the Gamers Are Dead articles.
Okay, right, but a lot of the community was very much about, let me, with a lot of the GamerGate community was pushing for against saying what were some of the ones that
well, we're not
pushing.
Really, you don't have to say names. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, sorry, completely lost my train of thought there. So there was a lot of pushback on the GamerGate side against social justice aspects of we need to the message being more important than the game, and if you don't support the game that's giving the right message, then we don't need you in this in gaming. And there's a lot of pushback against there's nothing wrong with liking games with deep themes and also Tomb Raider, there's nothing wrong with also mindless fun and stuff. There's kind of a pushback of there was definitely the culture war aspect was a big part of it that I kind of gravitated towards, because I thought that was one of because gaming's always been a big hobby of mine. This was around the time that I used to read a lot of cracked.com. That was the site I loved around that time. It just stopped being about the humor, was kind of more preachy, and it just stopped being fun. And it was kind of then seeing sort of that same influence in something that I spent a lot more, like a hobby I spent a lot more time on, trying to have fun, trying to take the fun away there too, which is kind of there was a personal investment in me to get involved. That's not what I want. That's not what yes, I've got nothing against you making games like that, but not taking away from the games that are already the kinds I would like to play.
You felt like they wanted to take away the games that you like. What do you mean by that?
So, for example, a lot of it, a lot of the pushback I remember was along the lines of games don't have to be this way anymore, and it's a lot of the sort of how would I want to put this? There was the push for games to be more along the lines of oh man, this sounds so much better in my head.
I can edit out the
I guess. Oh, you're probably going to have to do that a lot, honestly. Yeah, there we go. For example, I think early on was around the time when Anita Sarkeesian did that famous Hitman clip where she intentionally played it wrong to show it had violence against women, and this is something we need to push against, when she was attacking NPCs you're specifically not supposed to, and that kind of got a pushback of you shouldn't have that option. A game should be this other way that shouldn't allow that kind of thing. And I liked that game, and knew he was playing it wrong, but a lot of it was there was also that aspect of, because I remember that happening a lot, was if a game has, like like if you can do like immoral things in it, it will lead to increased immorality. Like there's the whole comparison with Jack Thompson where, like these games promote sexism, all that, instead of necessarily violence, like Jack Thompson's argument was. But I remember that being a pretty strong rallying cry of this is why games need to change. Games need to grow up. I remember being a pretty common catchphrase.
Well, so they say that games need to grow up. Not all games need to be violent. Not all games need to be sexist. Where does the part come in where they're trying to take away the ones that you like?
Well, for example, like, let me think. A lot of it wasn't so much that they wanted to take them away necessarily, but to change them into something more along the lines of their vision. Meaning, like the next, like, if you liked this game, here's the sequel, and it's now something new that's just not what you're after anymore. I'm trying to think of specific examples, but my memory's kind of failing me on that one.
Well, you say that GamerGate opposed a lot of the social justice stuff. What is the social justice stuff?
So, let me think. Some of the specifics were, oh man, long time ago. Like, a lot of it was dealt with changing the culture, making it so. Oh man. So instead of, oh, I'm sorry, this is going really plotting me right now. How do I want to put this? They were about, like, in a lot of cases, it was like taking away options. Like I remember, like certain outfits were unacceptable. The way certain NPCs were were seen as just eye candy or damsels in distress was considered bad and should be gotten rid of, because that diminishes the role of women and makes them seem lesser, and will carry on that message. And there need to be more positive female role models. And I'm not opposed to more positive female role models, but rescuing the princess is fun too.
It seems like you're having a hard time pulling up a lot of specific examples. I know this was a long
Yep.
time ago,
Yes, I am.
and this is your first
Yes,
time
I
on voice
am.
chat, to be fair.
Yeah.
But do you think that maybe part of the reason you're not able to pull up as many specific examples is because this wasn't as important as you thought it was at the time?
Mainly, a lot of it is my memories of that time are just chaotic, where it was something new every week, and it's kind of trying to pick the specifics from that is kind of. I was like looking back at some of my tweets, because I didn't actually use the hashtag that often, in case unless I thought I had something useful to contribute. A lot of it's trying to remember that moment, and like trying to pull up the people I talked to figure out what the start of that conversation was, are have long since left Twitter and stuff like that. So there's a lot of it I tried to recapture and didn't quite. It's like mostly I just remember like the intensity, the chaotic aspect of it. There was always something new going on.
Sorry, people in the VOD are hearing someone DM me. I'm gonna get off of that real quick.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, you obviously cared a lot about this stuff at the time. So, what made you so passionate about this? Why do you care about this specific thing? Free speech, I get it. Journalism, I get it. But it's games journalism. It's video games. Some people say, "Hey, look, not that big of a deal, right?"
Yeah, I get it. Like it's easy to dismiss in a lot of ways. Like, but main thing about it was it's is some like gaming is what I do when I'm earning money. A lot of times it's so I've got like once I paid the bills, it's so I can have something fun to do once I paid for the roof over my head, and like them trying like having the controversy of you shouldn't be the audience for games going forward. It should be targeted for someone else. You don't need to be entitled. Other people need a turn, and that was kind of something I wanted to like. It just rubbed me the wrong way. Where it's I like I want your games to exist, and I want my games to exist. I like the options. Where I felt like the options were being taken from me, and yeah,
You've
I'm a big fan of
mentioned.
options.
Good.
Sorry, that was it.
You've mentioned a few times that you don't care if the quote unquote social justice people have their own games. That you think that's fine, but you just want them to tolerate the existence of the games that you like.
Exactly.
So you apply this principle of artistic freedom universally.
Absolutely.
There
Where
were
it's like uh I disagree with a lot of the criticism, but you should absolutely be free to criticize it. Like I plan on criticizing your thing, but if you want to have fun with it, go right ahead. You should. You know, no one can take that from you, nor should they.
What kind of stuff did you do during GamerGate to try and bring about the outcomes that you wanted, whether in games journalism or creative freedom or anything else?
A lot of times I would see something come up, and I would join the pushback. I was hmm, like I would like I remember it was kind of late on in there, but I remember what was it? Some stupid game. I think it was Omega Labyrinth Z. It was this stupid PlayStation Vita game about anime girls who dungeon crawl and to get their breasts to grow bigger. It's absolutely dumbest concept you can imagine. But I remember it had fully translated, ready to release, and then PlayStation denied them the permission to publish it. It didn't have a PC port or anything, so they'd done all the work to get it ready, and then were denied at the last minute, where it was kind of, like I said, like the dumbest hill to die on. But the fact that the work had gone into it, the effort had gone there, and then at the last minute, someone pulled that away, like stuff like just like it's the stupid little things where it's you know someone's got to defend this stupid fun. But I remember that was one of the cases where I personally emailed like I went through like all the contact channels for Sony and just like if you're going to do this for this, like is this something you're going to do going forward to other translators? Are people going to think it's not worth bringing over other games to the West and translating them because this could happen to them at the last minute. Are you aware that this could, you know, discourage others from releasing Japanese or other foreign language games in English?
Did you consider this a part of Operation Torrential Downpour and your participation in it?
Uh, Not exactly because like, I came like after that I gone there, but in I had kind of the same mindset where it's I want that game to be like if the options there, if the work's done, yeah, I absolutely want to have that there to get like maybe digital only if you're worried about the market or whatever, but I want the option to be there.
Do you consider yourself a gamer?
Oh, absolutely.
What does that mean to you?
Gaming is one of my favorite pastimes. Has been since I was like 3 years old. Playing a ColecoVision that was way older than me. It's like I remember as a kid saving up to finally buy an N64. That was that was as a kid my big kid purchase. Where that was a sense of accomplishment where I'd put in the months of chores to get that, where it's that's something I wanted, that's something I enjoyed, and it's even now, it's one of my favorite pastimes. Is that and reading are usually what I'll do with my downtime, where it's something I'm passionate about. Like if I'm trying to connect, like meeting someone new and they play games and like we've got like any games in common, that'll be like the first connection point. That's where the conversation will start, and we'll kind of get to know each other, see if there's a friendship that can build from there. That's kind of my springboard in a lot of cases.
Is the term gamer gendered for you?
No.
No, you touched upon this briefly, and I know you said it's before you got involved with GamerGate, but it sounds like you are familiar with the Gamers are Dead articles.
Oh yeah.
Did you see them when they came out, or only after?
Only after.
Did you have any initial thoughts, first thoughts when you saw them?
Kinda just I was kind of blown away by there's this I guess arrogance would probably be the best word. There's this talking down of we set what gaming will be. You will, like, this term is no longer valid. We have decreed it thus. It's this real just talking down. It sort of like tried to pretend it had a reasonable tone in a lot of cases, but there was definitely this whole aspect of this is how it should be. This is what it shall not be. Anyone who does not conform is not needed, wanted, and should leave now.
Why do you think these articles all came out on the same day?
Definitely, definitely, I'd say there was an incestuous quality to it, especially once the Game Journal Pros got released. Where it's kind of a because it wasn't just one outlet. It's like multiple outlets like wanted to make sure that as many readers as possible would read this specific viewpoint early on, where it's this is the tone that they wanted to set and wanted it to be.
If the games press tried to reform, or even just ignored ethical questions at the time, instead of publishing the Gamers are Dead articles, do you think that Gamergate still would have happened?
Almost definitely not. Like there would have been like continued outcry, but a big part of what made Gamergate last as long as it did was because there was always pushback. There's something to react to. It was never just let them let them live in silence, let them eat static. There was always something to there was always a fight brewing.
Yeah, especially in I when I got involved 2015, there was every single day it seemed like there was some sort of new event. It got so bad that I was a YouTuber at the time for Gamergate, towards like mid to late. Well, I guess I did streams in the beginning, like spring 2015, a little bit, but then I started doing
Yeah.
like videos, and there was so much stuff happening at once that I couldn't keep up with it. I
Right.
couldn't. I was doing This Week in Gamergate, the series, and like
Yeah.
I don't know. You probably saw that, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Um, but it was I was falling behind constantly. And I even when I did touch upon the stuff, like I could only touch upon it in brief because I also have to do like full length videos that are touching upon each individual thing in addition to the news. It was wild.
Yeah, or we had like the weekend drama where there would always be something big that would kick off like every Friday. Where always be something new.
Yeah, it was always something.
Yeah.
If the Games Press thought that there were negative aspects of gamer culture, do you think that they had any valid critiques there?
Mm, I mean, like honestly, there is a bit to like the aspects of yeah, there is the whole aspect of it just being, like in some cases acquisitional, which is, like just, oh, I have to get the thing, I have to be seen in lines, get the thing, which is, maybe not the healthiest way to live, but like maybe it's, not the best publicity for the hobby, but at the same time, it's, what's the real harm if, they're still, paying their bills, keeping the family fed.
if instead of publishing these articles, they said, "Hey, look," they make one big article or whatever that criticizes negative aspects of gaming culture while also recognizing the positives and not calling for an end to the gamer identity as a whole, do you think you would have been open to hearing them out?
Maybe to an extent. Like I suspect if they just done like one article like that, I probably wouldn't have read it just because I wasn't really reading most of those outlets. So there's a good chance I would have missed it entirely. But and more I was when I'm looking for something on a gaming site, I'm looking for stuff about games, not so much opinions about the hobby. Like I'm not saying it necessarily would have been bad. Like maybe if I had nothing else to read and it was there, I might read through it and say like, might have a couple. I agree with that, I disagree with that, but if I just seen like the headline on the page, I probably wouldn't have clicked it.
So what are your thoughts on games journalism? What did you think of it at the time, and have those views shifted?
Honestly, like at the time, I was kind of like because a lot of the I remember some of the the journalists getting personally involved and like like throwing the insult. I remember I'm not sure if he qualifies as a journalist, but I remember one instance where Jim Sterling was talking about something and just like, oh, the GamerGate crowd's here, shut up, or something like that. But I think like there is some good games journalism, but I think for the most part, I think it ended up failing the industry well, because really when you're coming down to it, it should be kind of the what's the term, the enthusiast press, where like if you're looking into cars and stuff, like you'll get the aspects of how that car runs, but from people who care about cars, like really are looking forward to this. Where a lot of the times with gaming, it was like why it should be this, what, and like not like leaving out important details, like did they get swag for getting like with the review copy, which is a pretty minor issue in the grand scheme of things, but it did come up. And then of course there's the whole, do they have a personal connection to the devs, things like that, where I think honestly a lot of the I think they would have been better served if they had just gone full blown enthusiast, where if rather than like the Nathan Grayson article on Depression Quest, like didn't mention that he knew Zoe Quinn. It was instead, this is my friend who I knew personally. Like, while she was developing it, she actually suffered a bit of depression here, and this is how like she moved through. Like that could have actually been a pretty interesting article that would provide useful insights instead of like, oh, here's this award-winning indie game from someone who I know very personally, but I'm not going to mention that part. Where I think a lot of the in a lot of cases, I think we're better served by the more like the YouTuber crowd that just has it, plays it, tells you what they like and what they dislike about it. Like more the amateur fan, kind of, you get more useful information in a lot of cases, I think.
It seems like the right approach or a better approach to all this would have just been saying, "Hey, look, we made some mistakes. Here's the actions we're going to take to address those mistakes, and
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
here's how we're going to try to approach things moving forward." Like, why not just do that? Why not just maybe slap a couple people on the wrist, initiate a couple reforms, and call it a day, and
Yeah.
everybody goes home?
Oh, absolutely. Like I wouldn't have even pulled the offending articles. Just slap a disclaimer on them. Maybe if you've got an audience that's pretty interactive with you, it's, hey, do you want us to make a new review of this from a different from a different writer or something like that? Like there were definitely easier, like less dramatic ways of handling things than the Gamers Are Dead articles.
Well, what kind of reforms would you like to have seen happen with the games press?
Definitely disclosure on if they've got a personal connection. That was, of course, one of the big touchstones that kind of set things off. And like I said, if there's if they got something along with the game, or like in some cases, I kind of wish they'd gone back afterwards. I remember, I think this was a couple of years after GamerGate was really a major force, but like with EA Star Wars Battlefront 2, I remember the journalists were actually I'd actually say were the victims in that case, because they had that whole massive loot box controversy, but the review copies, the loot boxes were much more generous, if I recall. So their reviews were based on a completely different experience than the actual end users would get. So like in that case, like absolutely, like have the chance of saying, hey, here's what we got, go back and maybe we should maybe we should reform our review. Of course, this was before Gamergate, but there's one of those big examples of really messing with your credibility was the Jeff Gerstmann incident from GameSpot, I believe, where he gave a bad review to Kane and Lynch when it was their banner ad and got fired for it, which kind of made people wonder, are these reviews bought and paid for? So like at that point, I think is when the gaming press should have realized that more disclosure is our friend. As much as we can give, I think that would have served them a lot better in the long run.
You mentioned the Battlefront situation, and
Yeah.
I remember during Gamergate, I actually kind of forgot about this because it seemed like it never really picked up steam, but there was a contingent of people within the Gamergate community who very much thought that we should have started going after the developers who had these shitty microtransaction policies and things like this, and like really start trying to pressure not the developers but the publishers especially, to try and to not go this route, to not have everything be monetized and these pay to win models and loot boxes, things like this. It seemed like
Right.
it didn't really gain a lot of steam in the community, but there were always a couple people who really wanted to try and push Gamergate in that direction. Were you one of those
Yeah.
people?
I wasn't. It's I was definitely sympathetic to that idea, but it's like like Gamergate was basically a consumer revolt in a lot of ways, as a lot of the people at the time described it, and I'd agree. But I'd say pushing back against loot boxes would also be that, but I don't think it was really in the scope where it was something that we cared about like individually, but the group wasn't really geared towards that. I think it was kind of just a unrelated gaming concern.
Yeah, I was at the time. I was open to hearing the arguments about this. I think it's like a conversation worth having. But I didn't really want to bring it into Gamergate for a couple of reasons. Like first off, I didn't want to like have like mission creep, where like now we're talking about
Yeah.
every fucking thing ever. And then I
Right.
was also concerned that it would create the perception that we were against developers, and I thought that
Yeah.
that would undermine the movement way more than it would do good. Because I didn't want that
Yeah.
perception
That's
to exist. Oh god.
right. Yeah, that's a fair point. Where it's like a lot of it was like there was a really strong concern about like we really wanted to a lot of cases connect with developers, and like I remember like Mark Kern Grums on who was one of the developers for Vanilla WoW, was someone that tended to get along with pretty well. And there's a few others, but he was the one I tended to interact with the most. Where it was like we didn't want to step on creativity, where it was kind of it felt like the gray zone with the loot boxes, because that felt more like a corporate thing put on top of it, but at the same time it was still a developer decision. It kind of yeah, it was kind of sticky ground, I think, that we just kind of didn't want to step into if we could avoid it.
If you were the editor-in-chief of a gaming website, and some of your employees were credibly accused of ethical violations, what would you have done?
uh Investigate to the best of my ability, first of all, like see what the concerns are. If they've got a good excuse, if it's something that seems minor, like I would, if it's I would want to avoid the appearance of impropriety, because if nothing else, I don't want to damage the brand of my publication. So if there's something that seems iffy, I'll put that disclaimer in there, like, oh well, this person actually turns out knew them. Might want so someone reads that, take it with a grain of salt. If they if there's pushback against that, maybe see if someone else will review it or offer a different perspective. But if you've got an established person who's like got the one laughs, of course you don't want to just immediately throw them out. But if they've got like a history of antagonizing your audience, or being misleading, or leaving out important details, that's maybe you should, like, look, this is just like, we can't keep having this. You're going to bring a bunch of, like, you're going to bring the whole site down with you. Like, you're going to hurt the reputation of everyone else who works here.
You talked about how you think that perhaps the video and streaming stuff is a, a, a useful way to look at games journalism, a sort of different way of doing journalism than the traditional written form. Do you think there
Yeah.
is still a role for the written form?
Yes, like, because like, I'm an avid reader, but in a lot of cases with games, like something like they're saying, there's this bug, like you'll occasionally come and see those, then actually seeing what it looks like, if it's just there's some graphical glitch or some clipping, or you fall through the or you fall through the floor repeatedly. That's something that, yes, you can write, but there's more of an impact that's much more likely to affect your wallet, which is why it's also less likely to be something that you'd actually be able to make a career on the same level as your classic games journalist who's like on the full payroll of a publication.
I know we talked about this a little bit too, but in the first few weeks of GamerGate, it was revealed that nearly 150 games journalists from competing publications were on a mailing group called Games Journalists Pro. Do you have any thoughts on this revelation?
It's one of those things where I'm not all that surprised. Where it's uh, the fact that they all came out the same day, almost tipped their hand already that there was some kind of collusion going on there. Where it's in general, like, if just a bunch of people who like have the same job, want to discuss their concern, their concerns, work issues, or something, that's fine. But yeah, this was definitely something more than that, where it was definitely like, where, yeah, create a coordinated gamers don't have to be your audience kind of thing, where that's something I just can't see as being just a benign, oh well, it's the, like, people in the same line of work kind of thing. It's not that simple.
In August 2015, Michael Koretsky, a regional director for the Society of Professional Journalists, hosted the SPJ Airplay conference. Well, actually, first off, were you in GamerGate at the time, or was this after before you?
Yeah. No, I was in GamerGate by then.
Okay. The idea of the conference was to have journalistic ethics experts meet with GamerGate supporters to discuss their concerns about games journalism and the way the media covered GamerGate. The second half of the conference was interrupted by bomb threats, forcing the convention center to be evacuated. Do you have any thoughts on this event?
Uh, my first thought is, I wish that had been the first time a GamerGate event had been canceled by bomb threats. Remember there being, I believe it was a DC meetup that
Yep.
got canceled by a bomb threat.
There wasn't one in
But
Australia too, I think, right? Or no? Or was that a fire? There was some
I
sort of thing that happened in Australia.
yeah. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics on that one, but I definitely remember the DC one. And yeah, that just I think that was the coolest of the thing I was kind of stumbling around earlier trying to say, where there was a side willing to talk and a side willing to shut them up because that side was invalid. And I think that kind of, yes, there were people who just like legitimately had their disagreements. Kind of the more extremist aspect of anti-gamergate was very much living up to the anti part of it in ways that still kind of blow my mind. And yeah, that was definitely one of the big ones.
Did you watch the Airplay event either live or after
Yeah.
the fact?
Yes.
What did you think of it?
It's I thought it was interesting. Like I remember because yeah, it was long. I watched it at the time. It's been a long time, but yeah, it's definitely one of my most vivid memories of a certain game designer. 'Cause I remember him giving a pretty good speech there. But one of the things I also remember is the immediate aftermath was I remember there was a local paper that had mentioned that that GamerGate had completely skipped its notice until there was a bomb threat in their town, and they started soliciting like opinion pieces from pro and anti about what this movement is because it now it's affecting their community. I remember reading a couple of articles from GamerGaters. I don't remember if any anti-GamerGaters ended up submitting anything, but I remember them saying that they'd actually heard enough from GamerGate. They released out like two or three pieces of wanted to hear from the other side now, but I remember like even at that point we were still very willing to reach out to journalists who would listen.
Oh my gosh. It's funny you mentioned that because I actually wrote one of those articles.
Oh,
Let me see if I can find it real quick because I know the web. I don't think that newspaper exists anymore. But
ah,
oh my gosh. Let me see if I can find it. That's so funny. Because I'm actually I I really put my soul into that. I wrote that. I
yeah,
mean, I wrote the article, and I just wanted to change people's minds contemporaneously.
yeah.
And I really want to see what I wrote. But dude, there were so many. They published like I don't know, like almost 10 people, and I think they include some anti-GamerGate people as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I had like a whole opinion piece, op-ed in their paper. Anyway, well, do you want me to find it or not?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'll be going through like the archives here, so bear with me.
Yeah, no problem.
I think this is it. Oh, yep, this is it. Okay, all right, let me pull this into the. Everyone can see it. I'll post it in the Discord too, and I'll put it on stream. Oh no, it's not gonna let me do. Okay. Archive.org. For some reason, Firefox can't pass captchas. I have no idea why. It's very annoying.
Ah,
I might have to like switch to a different browser for stream.
mm. Yeah, I'm hitting that issue right now myself, actually.
Well, in theory, it's loading. It's just taking 10 years to do so.
Okay.
But that's a fine. This interview is for the book anyway, so I feel comfortable, even if the stream is kill because of this. I don't know if these archives are bad or just. Oh, finally. Okay. All right. There is no evidence that Gamergate is a sexist movement by Kevin McDonald. I've spent hundreds of hours of the last 8 months dedicated to GamerGate, and yet I find it difficult to write this opinion piece. I first found out about GamerGate around January. Okay, okay. It's just cringe, dude. So funny though. It's super long.
Well, I mean, they did ask.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you saw my article at the time, but
I saw a couple of them. I don't think I knew that was your name then, so I might not have associated it.
why do you think the media didn't cover SPJ Airplay?
I think in a lot of cases, like especially with like the, when you get into like the televised and like published papers, there's definitely the sense that gaming is a kid's toy. There's I remember once seeing a news piece on one of the big networks of people being shocked of people getting tennis elbow from playing Wii Sports after that came out, because it's a game. Doing the same motions as tennis shouldn't give you tennis elbow. Where it's there's no, like, a lot of cases there's no understanding or no interest in understanding. So it's something about gaming that's obviously not important. And I remember actually I think Michael Kretzky was involved in that one, but a little after Airplay, I think, was when that famous article of a game journalist who just like absolutely loathed like the how mundane that was. Like, it was all games are stupid. He'd rather be talking about Filipino politics.
Oh
I
yes,
think
I do remember
yeah,
this.
I think Michael Koretsky was actually wrote like just a scathing tearing that apart. Like, he's on the rooftop of a hotel, and no one would care if you fell off of it. Like, right about what you're actually there to cover. I remember that cracked me up.
Well, it's. I mean, I get it. Like, you didn't want this. Like, a lot of those people, they didn't really want to be games journalists. They just sort
Right,
of that's the job they could get because they couldn't get a job
r-
at the New York Times, and so they're like really pissed that they're working in what they
right,
consider to be like this kid's toy hobby. But
yeah,
that's your job. You got to take it seriously, right? You gotta go
y-
out there. Like, people, like, if a McDonald's employee probably doesn't want to be working at McDonald's, right? They don't want to be flipping
exactly,
burgers or dealing with angry customers all the time. They'd rather be doing other
yeah,
stuff, but they still go out there and they do their job. They don't complain about it all
yeah,
the time.
yeah. I mean, there was the aspect of games journalism that was sort of antagonistic to Gamergate, and there was the one that just flat out was embarrassed to be games journalism. I think that was some of the pushback too of caring about ethics in games journalism. Like, why does that matter from the people whose job is to cover is games journalism? Where you could, like, some of them, like, just it was a means to an end. They're hoping to get into real journalism. And the sooner they left, the better. Was kind of the attitude they tended to give off.
Some people, including our mutual friend Game Diviner, believed that Gamergate should have ended after SPJ Airplay. What do you think of that?
Uh, at the time, could not have disagreed more. Looking back, yeah, it's probably a good time for it.
Yeah, torrential downpour was after SPJ Airplay though, and I feel like that was a very important thing that we did. At the time, I was very much opposed to
Yeah,
the end Gamergate idea,
yeah,
but I understand why. I understand why some people wanted to do it, and maybe it was a good idea.
yeah,
We still could have done torrential downpour without it being a Gamergate thing.
yeah. 'Cause I mean, like, we still had like the circle of people who'd gone through that, people who still cared about gaming. But I could see that with or without Gamergate, honestly.
But also, Gamergate was fun. It was exciting. There's
Yeah,
new stuff all the time. We were plugged in.
exactly.
We cared about it. We had fun with it. And there were bad moments
Yeah,
too, but like there were a lot of great moments, great friendships, and a lot of people wanted to keep
yeah,
going.
yeah. That was definitely, I think, where things started to wind down, and I was definitely kind of in denial of it. Like you said, like Torrential Downpour was still was still after that, and that was still good. But yeah, I remember like everyone was suggesting, we've like Gamergate's fulfilled its mission where I wanted more. This is the most like this is something new and exciting. And I'm actually a part of it. When does that happen?
Yeah, it's just it's like this was a major part of our lives. We still cared about the cause, and it's like, well, we had our conference. Let's go home, everybody. It's like, well,
Yeah,
wait, hold up. I feel like there's still some
yeah,
important work that needs to be done here. What are we doing?
yeah.
Some Gamergate supporters believed that pressuring advertisers to pull out would be a good way to convince gaming publications to initiate ethical reforms. What did you think of this strategy?
I think I think it was the one like it shouldn't have been the first choice, but it's kind of one we were left with after the Gamers Dead pushback, where it's that you will not listen to us, so we'll find someone else who will. Where it was kind of where it's not ideal, but our hands were kind of forced a bit in that front to get the change we wanted when like we would not be heard out otherwise. Where it was going to the people holding the purse strings.
So you think that it was necessary to bring them to the negotiating table?
Yes.
Do you think that because you cost them so much money, though, that you made it less likely for them to come to the table because they're like, well, fuck these guys. They're fucking trying to destroy our business.
I mean, I definitely understand that mindset, but at the same point, we were already dead, so there was already no like them at the negotiating table and hating us was still them at the negotiating table, which we didn't have before. It's like not ideal, but it's the option that was left.
Did you support any of these? Did you support Operation Disrespectful Nod or the email campaigns, or were you not involved with that?
That was before my time. I wish I had though, because that seemed like actually getting involved in that, probably would have been ignored, but being part of that, I kind of felt like I missed out on like the big moment.
You were obviously involved with the creative freedom side of Gamergate, and some political activists believed that using social media campaigns to demand artists change artistic elements of their work was a good thing. What did you think of this tactic?
That I I always prefer that, like whenever possible, the artistic vision not being compromised. I mean, there's the business aspect of it to be considered too, and it's like I said, even if it's a game that's absolutely not made for me, that's no reason not to make it. But at the same time, if it's they're changing like a new entry in a franchise to be you know the complete opposite of the ones that came before, I'm not saying like dogpile them and let them never get a moment's rest until they repent of their ways or whatever. But at the same time, would at least like enough of it to know that this is going to like lose you the audience, like some of the audience you had before. Are you sure you want to go this route? Where like don't want to force them, but like you will probably lose me if you make this choice.
So
But the choice is yours to make.
you're talking about the developers like deciding to make decisions rather than like what do
Right.
you think of the people themselves? Were you involved in pushing back against some of this stuff? I know you mentioned on Twitter you were talking about it.
Like I remember like pushing against like stuff like oh yeah, that was one that I remember I imported after they demanded it be banned, but a game I didn't particularly like, but Dead or Alive Extreme 3, the beach volleyball game,
Yeah.
where that was like like okay, it's not getting released in the U.S. and that became like that like people were celebrating that as a victory, and just like where it also got pushed back in some ways where some of the some voice actors pointed out that if this had gotten a Western release, that all of the women in this entirely female cast would have been cast and gotten paychecks on it. You just cost them all jobs. So there was kind of a. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your point. I'll ask a follow up.
Right, there was kind of this whole aspect of just ban this because it's sexist, and then but you just hurt women. That was kind of, as soon as that was brought up, it kind of stopped. The conversation was not followed up on from there on their end, I felt.
Do you think there's any value in the criticism that, look, this Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball thing, it really is probably like way too far. It's actually sexist or whatever. Let's just oh sorry, let me steel man them. That video games like Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball promote a culture of the male gaze where you're trying to objectify women and treat them like fictional video game characters in this case, but still like fictional female characters, and treat them like they're sexual objects, and that's like not good.
I mean, the point that came up a few times was it's not just straight men who like looking at attractive women. It's fictional or otherwise, but and of course there's the aspect of, yes, they are fictional. It's not real. Like, there's no link between what happens on screen and in real life in terms of violence, and as far as we've seen in sexism either. So I mean, I could see, I think the appropriate measure to take with that is the one we already have, like the ESRB warning. Not for little kids. Like, once you're mature enough for the game, you make your own choice.
Do you think there are ways to criticize video games for elements that you perceive as being sexist or overly violent without it being a form of censorship or advocacy for censorship?
I mean, I think honestly, it's if you don't try to, if you're not trying to, get like-minded people to join the cause and brigade against it, but just, the way I look at a lot of cases is, it's not for me. Like, if I wanted to do like a full critique of something, like, I didn't care for this, I didn't care for this, I didn't care for this, and that's why it's not for me. If that's not an issue for you, maybe you'll enjoy it.
I know. Well, I'll move on from that. I'm skipping some of the questions because I feel like we've already hashed over them.
Okay.
Some critics argue that GamerGate was mostly or entirely right wing. What do you think of this? Do you think this is accurate?
I do not, and I can say that as someone who was pretty right wing when I joined, and still decently right wing now.
Do you want to talk about your politics? Oh, good.
Well, like, I'll say early on, I kind of that was kind of a big change for me. Was honestly, I hadn't interacted that much with you lefties. GamerGate was a real eye-opening experience to me, because before I really joined it and got to talk to people who shared the passion of gaming but had very different thoughts on a lot of other things, I'd assumed left wing and social justice were identical. I did not like. I thought that was just the way, and to see that there actually was pushback on the left from that was a very, very eye-opening experience to me, that I would have definitely missed out on probably for years if I hadn't joined GamerGate.
So would you say that GamerGate and your experience in it changed your views to some degree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, definitely, instead of like liberals being and social justice warriors being one and the same, it's for the most part, we want the same things, just have different ideas of how to achieve them, where social justice kind of goes to extremes that is distasteful to like a lot of the left and the right. But also another big part, I'd say, was definitely freedom of speech, where I was kind of beforehand, I was kind of the I would say I definitely kind of went more on the libertarian aspect of the political spectrum, because beforehand I was kind of like like I feel my views are being silenced, but if my correct views were in place, then wouldn't need to listen anymore. And it's just kind of that like had that view blown away. I think for good, just seeing the value of free speech, having the debates, seeing like which ideas stood up to scrutiny and which didn't is is very valuable. And that was something I hadn't considered before then anywhere near as the level I should have.
Are you okay with gaming websites criticizing games through a political or religious lens, such as a Marxist, feminist, Christian, or other lens?
Absolutely, assuming like they because I remember when GamerGate was like listing like the sites they considered ethical, and it's still around now is actually Christ-centered gamer, I believe, which like lists like just gives a traditional review and also there's swearing and there's drinking and there and like this and there's one character who shows cleavage, where like but it it blatantly gives you the angle it's coming from, and if you're going to that site you're getting that perspective and you're getting that perspective, where if it's just like a general games review and you're getting a Marxist review, like I would rather have more than one option, or that be on a site geared towards Marxists. I think that'd be the better approach. Like I'm not opposed to it in general, just the context and being open with what that is.
So they should, in your eyes, make it clear that, hey, look, this is the perspective we're coming at it from, and then you can decide
Yeah,
to take that as however you want.
yeah.
Some people say that Gamergate was the first battle of the culture war. Do you have any thoughts on that framing?
I'd say that's pretty fair. Where it's where I think one of the kind of interesting things about it is 9 years later it's still kind of being brought up as a boogeyman, and that's not something that happens with something that was just a flash in the pan that didn't mean anything.
What do you think?
But
Obviously, oh god,
sorry, go ahead.
you're not going to get another chance to answer the questions, so definitely
No, go ahead.
take full.
It was going to. I'm sure it was going to be a ramble. Go ahead.
All right. Obviously, you're a bit more on the right, and that's fine. I think it's great that Gamergate had people on the left and the right coming together to build a better gaming industry. I think that's amazing. I think that's actually we need more things like this in the world where people put aside their partisan differences and just come together. But there is also this framing that Gamergate was perhaps a battle within the left between those who believed in small L liberal democratic values and those who don't. What do you think of that framing?
I think that's fair. Like there was definitely a lot of left leaning people who were definitely fighting against ones who just like had very incompatible views. And like I said, one of the things about it is there's that old zinger, like so much for the tolerant left. But what I found was the GamerGate crowd, because I was kind of shy about mentioning my right leaning beliefs early on. Once I did, like there was disagreement, but it was like it was cordial. People were willing to discuss it on the GamerGate side, which I respect, and got closer to a lot of people and like reconsidered things because of that. Like more
Yeah,
than like the whole like, oh, you don't feel this way about the specific policy, well then you hate everyone everywhere.
yeah. I didn't even know
Where
you
that
were. I didn't even know you were more conservative until we talked, like literally just now. I just found out, so it doesn't bother me. I
Yeah,
think it's cool. I think it's cool that we have these disagreements,
yeah,
unless you're like a Nazi or something. But even even then, like I don't believe in like I believe Nazis should have free speech. I think that we should treat that with compassion and empathy, and also like argue against their ideas. I don't think that like this idea of like,
yeah,
oh, you said something racist on Twitter 8 years ago, now your entire life has to be over. I think that's a really
yeah.
unhelpful way to approach it. And obviously, you're not a Nazi, right? So
Right, yeah.
cool, yeah. Did you interact with any anti-Gamergate people?
Like a couple of times in like arguments, but never. Usually not very long discussions, especially not about GamerGate. I remember like having some like decent like decent discussions. And I check their profile, see how I follow them. Like, yeah, they're probably not gonna like me, but not like people I'd talk to on like a regular basis.
Okay. You don't think you
Like, it's
changed
usually like people
anybody's?
like,
Good.
but like not like like fair chunk of people who just didn't have like just like were pretty neutral or like willing to hear both sides, but or pro Gamergate, but yeah, not a whole lot of anti Gamergate that would regularly talk to me. I chat with some people who tried it and just like the headaches of trying to find common ground and just like like I respect your sacrifice, but I don't think I could. I'd probably end up doing it worse.
Well, how do you think the conversation could have been more productive?
I think definitely just like the fact like if there had been a conversational like a lot of like with the bomb the gamers are dead, like a lot of the anti-gamergate like at its like was about shutting things down. Like I remember what was it? There was some tech conference where Randy Harper was like a guest of honor, and a couple of people were trying to bring to their attention that the kind of person she's been, the attacks she's made, and then they used her block list, and like suddenly this like this tech company has suddenly blocked thousands and thousands of people like with one click. So is like having the conversation. We might not necessarily have reached common ground, but maybe could have moderated things a lot more than just the you're not allowed to discuss, like we will not be having this conversation.
Well, it's funny too because the obviously the block list hurt a lot of people. And some Paulo, game designer, was talking about how it seems to have harmed his career possibly being on this block list as a game developer, as an indie
Yeah.
developer. But at the same time, we actually got something really useful out of the block list, which is that a Women Action Media, this group, did a study analyzing harassment using the block list, the list of all the supposed Gamergate people, uh, and they found that only 0.66% of the people on the block list had engaged in harassment. So it seemed to actually like bolster pro Gamergate's arguments.
Yeah, because I remember like a lot of it was very much about like we are not what they say we are, and we will not tolerate you trying to make it what they say we are. Like it like I remember seeing like yeah, like a lot of the Gamergate memes where like you see harassment, you call it out, you do not let it persist, because that's not going to help. That's not going to help anything.
Oh, we're gonna be getting to that in just a second. But first,
Mhm.
I know this was before your time, but if you want to share any thoughts on Not Your Shield, you can.
That was one of the big aspects of the whole like shutting down the conversation. It's like this whole idea of like your opinion is valid because you were definitely all just angry white boys basically, and then it's just like no, I'm a woman, I love gaming, like I'm part of this movement. We don't hate we don't hate women, I don't hate myself. And then there was this whole like, oh, you're a sock puppet, because obviously there was this whole like just you can't hold that opinion and be who you say you are. Like we've decided what you are and what your opinion is, and we will not tolerate otherwise. Where it kind of. So I remember that actually. 'Cause I missed some of the early charity events Gamergate did, but I remember that inspiring one I actually participated in, which was Operation Sock Puppet, where we'd donate socks to like the homeless needy, because socks tend to be one of the least donated articles of clothing.
All right, we're about 2/3 of the way through, or maybe about halfway. Do you mind if we take
Okay.
a quick bathroom break?
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. All right. I'll see you in 5.
All right, sounds good.
Cool. Hey, I'm back. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Sorry, man.
No problem.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, some websites ban discussion of Gamergate. Why do you think that is?
That one that I think there had to be either like an ideological animus on there because like when 4chan did, I mean, it's not like GamerGate of all things was going to make 4chan's reputation worse, but yeah, that's like I don't know the specifics on that, but I would assume it had to be just flat out like one of the higher ups just didn't want to like oppose the very idea, had the means of getting rid of it and took those means.
Why do you think that some people claimed that Gamergate was about harassment or hating women?
It's it's a good convenient way of like it quickly discredits, if someone's, just like if they're harassing them, then obviously, they're not trying to convey, points or ideas. They're just, like loud angry. They have no argument basically. Where it discourages looking into deeper because you don't want to see someone being mean to some innocent women. Why would you want to do that? And why would we lie about that?
How important was it to you that bad actors were condemned within Gamergate or third-party trolls?
Very, like I said, it's like not only was it counterproductive, but it just I personally didn't want like see that coming from our side. It's kind of basically becoming the thing that we're trying to oppose, the thing that that like seeing people on our side get harassed, dogpiled, like false reported, then like I don't want to see someone on our side doing the same thing that I've seen happen to people I've gotten to know, consider my friends, or it's, like seen how it affects them. I don't want to wish that on even my enemies.
Do you think most Gamergate people did a good job condemning harassment?
I'd say yet like there were some that harassed definitely, but for the most part it was it's definitely a strong sentiment of we don't want that here.
If you saw someone quote unquote on your side doing something you thought was bad, how would you handle that situation?
Definitely like not do like a whole big call up, but probably like reply to them like what are you doing, if private messaging is open, like what do you do, like you're sure you want to go this route, trying to see if this can be resolved one on one rather than go down this path because it's not gonna probably not gonna get you the results you want. It's almost definitely not gonna get the results I want, and just
You don't have
yeah,
to
just not something I wanted to see.
you don't have to answer or talk about it, but did you experience any harassment during Gamergate from either side or from third-party trolls?
Not really. Like, I'd jump on a conversation and sometimes, get like, like handful of responses like over the course of an hour, but nothing like long term or anything that really, not nothing that left lasting memories in terms of me personally being harassed. But I was a pretty small player, so I'm not surprised I didn't get that much flack.
Why do you think that the media covered a lot of the harassment that anti-Gamergate people received, but almost none that the pro-Gamergate people received?
In some cases, I would say it's hmm, like like sometimes it's a matter of like connection and ambition, I guess I'd say, because like Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn rode that straight to the UN, where like a lot of the GamerGates had kind of, since a lot of the GamerGaters had kind of a loose or irreverent feel to them, a lot of it was like was sort of like if they're like on at least low level harassment, just kind of like sort of a like, oh man, look at this. This is kind of funny, where those were, like our side didn't tend to report a lot of death threats, despite bomb threats being called on us. So I'm like one side was definitely more motivated to do so, and then I think had like the industry connections with like the same kind of journalists who wrote Gamers Are Dead to like spread that message more. Where I think we were somewhat more limited in that because we didn't have the media pipeline to work with.
Do you have any thoughts on Zack Attack? I know that happened when you were involved.
That was the Mombot thing, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I remember. I remember that one. I remember like seeing like the like once it had all come out, just kind of my jaw dropped of like of having the receipts there and just wow, seeing all of that play out, like the whole just like the whole like condone targeting, all that kind of stuff, just like laid bare, just kind of blew me away, honestly.
You were shocked by this?
Not so much shock, but just like having it all like there with the receipts. I remember like people are doing like compilation videos of like hey, it's all out in the open. That like that aspect of it, just like seeing it all like laid out end to end like that was something I just wasn't expecting.
What do you think of the term sea lioning and how some Gamergate critics use the term?
That I think was one I didn't see that as often personally, but is like definitely more a method of shutting off the conversation of like Gamergate's full of harassment. Like, can you give me an example? Like, I don't have to prove myself to you. Kind of aspect where it was like shut off the proof for your claims as that itself is harassment. Where like I'm sure it's valid in some contexts, but I don't think in the matter of you are accusing me of this, I would like you to like substantiate your claim. I don't think that qualifies as actual sea lining.
Yeah, I don't think it's harassment, especially since you're making a very public claim about about a group of people or specific
Yeah,
individuals. Like you should be able to back that claim up and provide
yeah,
evidence of that claim. And if you can't, then like why make the claim to begin with?
right.
What do you think about how the media covered Gamergate?
To the extent it did, except for like the very very rare circumstances like the op-ed piece we were talking about earlier, the extraordinary like well yeah, just one-sided completely, like nothing really on the other side. There are death threats from evil people hiding in the shadows who you don't need to know anything other than they're evil, practically. Like
Do you
when it was covered at all.
do you think that the anti-Gamergate people did receive actual death threats or doxing or things like that?
I'm sure some of them did. Like I believe some of it was definitely like some of it was fabricated or weaponized, but yes, I do think there had to be some people who actually were were the victims of bad actors and should not have been.
You say that some of it might have been fabricated. What do you mean by that?
Like I remember seeing seeing this like set of like three tweets from some guy with like two followers, all taken like with a minute of being tweeted, of like becoming this whole like murder fantasy directed at Anita Sarkeesian, and that ended up like being like being added to news articles of she's receiving death threats. Where it's that seemed like, I suppose it's possible, but very very unlikely that a nobody account captured immediately after posting to someone with thousands and thousands of followers.
It's unlikely that I'm sorry, I just want to clarify. It's unlikely that they would have seen that and screenshotted it in that moment or
Like a minute, like less than 2 minute old tweets from a person with like two followers given to an account that's got tens of thousands. Like just like it's possible, but I really doubt it.
Did you reach out to any
And like,
journalists? Oh, God.
oh, no, that was basically it. Go ahead.
Did you reach out to any journalists or media outlets who wrote articles about Gamergate to correct misinformation?
No.
Did anyone from the press reach out to you?
Uh, Brad Glasgow did.
Oh, how'd that go?
Pretty well. Like he's always been pretty cordial with me. Just sent me a bunch of questions. I sent him replies. It was very, just very very professional. Nothing too exciting there. Just asked questions, I answered them, and that was about it. But I've always followed him since I first became aware of him wanting to cover GamerGate himself, and he's always been a decent receptive person. So got nothing bad to say about him.
Now you said that you were a minor player in Gamergate,
Yeah.
but it as someone who was a bit more, I guess, active, if you want to say that, um, I was only approached by, I think, one person, and
Mm.
they were like a college newspaper type journalists, like not even like a
Okay.
major publication. It seemed like
Right.
none of the major publications really reached out to people to even hear their side of the story. These are major news outlets, not just the Gabe's Press. Why do you think that they wrote
Yeah.
these stories without even talking to Gamergate people?
I think part of it is, like they already had the story, like once you get into like the big players where they don't consider gaming all that important to do due diligence on. I like I want to attribute to malice, but I think negligence is honestly the culprit there. Just they had their story, and who's going to track down anonymous trolls when they've already got like these screenshots of mean things that were said, and there's millions more, or something like that.
If a journalist who got Gamergate wrong is reading this right now, what do you want them to reconsider?
Definitely that there was more than one side to it. That there was a side actually reaching out, trying to be heard, and a side actually trying to deny that side from being heard.
Is that all you think they can learn from how they covered Gamergate, or are there other lessons as well?
Mm. The big one is like not doing the due diligence to see the other side of the story, but like there was a real lack of curiosity on a lot of levels on it being just gaming, and them already having the story from like on some level, not necessarily on like the print newspapers, but like on the online publications, like they've already got you know a good chunk of the story, so they can take it from there. They've already got their source that's accredited, basically. So it was kind of, yeah, it's sort of not just doing due diligence, but also just kind of accepting that they've at least got one side and the basics of that down. Where I think like a little more investigation might have, like a lot of the reporting that was had towards anti-Gamergate was that there are harassers who are full of hate and all this kind of stuff, but there was never a lot of, and like death threats, but there's never like details on this is what we're mad about. Just we're mad about women or minorities or something very 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 vague and nebulous that just like the average reader not knowing anything about look at and think, well, that's not something they should do.
Have you seen the Wikipedia article about Gamergate?
Not in a while, but does it still call it a harassment campaign? Because if so, that wouldn't surprise me a bit.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Would you like to see, quote unquote, the narrative on Gamergate changed to be more neutral and or positive?
Yeah, like neutral would be a big improvement, honestly.
Has your conscious experience as a human been made worse to any degree because of the narrative, the negative narrative about Gamergate?
Not really. Not beyond the points of they're telling lies about my friends, but like beyond that, not really.
Does it bother you that they told lies about your friends?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think that'll ever change? That there will ever be like a coming to terms with what really happened?
It's going to be a major uphill battle. I'm impressed you're stepping up to try tackling that, honestly, and wish you luck. But that's going to be a tough one, especially after so long, where there's kind of just the nebulous. It was a bad thing. At this point, it's kind of the recollection is kind of the way I've seen people look at it now who had no idea what happened then.
Yeah, one of my online friends, she's got a very negative view of Gamergate.
Mm.
What's your favorite video game?
Uh, Probably Super Mario RPG.
No, I don't think I've ever played that.
Yeah, it was for a long time I was kind of behind the curve, like always playing like the last gen stuff. I remember buying that when Blockbuster was getting rid of it, and just kind of kept coming back to it, and just yeah, it was just like wasn't necessarily like Mario was okay, I guess, but the game had a good sense of humor, and I was that was kind of like the first RPG I really sunk my teeth into. I tend to like those a lot now, and just music was fun. Just a lot of good memories of playing that back in what was that, sixth grade, I think. But yeah, a lot of good times with that one.
Did you attend a Gamergate meetup?
I did not.
You talked about how these people were telling lies about your friends. You made some friends during
Mhm.
Gamergate, then I take it?
Online, yes. I was at a con once, and just our schedules didn't line up, so we never got to meet. But we were like in the same building a couple of times. But I haven't met anyone that I've that I've met online through GamerGate in person.
Do you have any thoughts on Vivian James or Gamergate related art projects?
Always loved that design, and really wish that some of those video game projects panned out, because those looked like they would have been a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, some of those looked really good. Like the Project Sock Just one looked pretty good.
Yeah, and if you remember Shirtstorm with the guy who landed a probe on a comet and got criticized for the bikini babe shirt he was wearing.
Oh yes.
Uh, the woman who designed that, Ellie Preisman, made a Vivian James hoodie, and I've actually got one of those. I'm pretty happy about that. I don't have to wear it because I want to get it stained, but I've got it.
Oh, you could have worn it for the interview.
I could have.
You could have been on camera. Well, that's not going to
Yeah,
translate to the book, but still, we are live streaming now. If you, I'm not sure if you're aware.
yeah,
I think I mentioned something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I mentioned something.
yeah. You did.
Okay, okay. Otherwise, that'd be like a really shitty behavior on my part. All right, nearing the end here. What was your
All
favorite
right.
moment during Gamergate?
Mm, I'd probably have to say SPJ Airplay. That was like a lot of stuff. Like just that was one of the first that was probably the biggest event I was actually like there, and like when it was happening, and just like that. I remember the build up. The people getting ready to show up, and just I remember being like really excited for seeing that come in there, and then that was a big deal. So I was pretty excited watching that, and then just that bomb threat. It's like, you've got to be kidding me! I couldn't have, I wouldn't have been a big enough hack to write that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you remember back then, but this was a big deal. Like everybody was talking about this upcoming thing. This was huge. And
Yeah,
I was I seemed like, I don't know, maybe other people didn't feel this way, but I sort of always knew that there was going to be a bomb threat, a fire alarm, something. I knew someone is going to do something. Whether it was
Yeah,
anti-Gamergate or trolls or what,
yeah.
but it seemed like
I like.
no, there's no way
I,
they're going to let this happen.
yeah, I was thinking like the thought crossed my mind like, no, they wouldn't. Like, you're kidding. No.
Yeah,
But
and then
but yeah, I remember.
God,
Yeah, yeah, just yeah, the excitement, the build up, seeing the people coming in there, like yeah, it's like I still remember Apollo taking the stage. That was a cool moment. Glad he's doing well, by the way.
he is, he is. I just talked to him yesterday,
Yeah,
I think, or 2 days ago. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, and I remember seeing SPJ Airplay, and I'm glad it happened. I thought it was good,
yeah,
but it was kind of lackluster. It's like this huge build up, and then nobody in the press even remotely covers it. Like it
yeah,
doesn't get any coverage at all. Like it got like one article on Polygon, and that was it.
yeah.
And maybe if like a few other like some of the pro GamerGate websites covered it.
Right.
Ones
Yeah.
that covered GamerGate from a more neutral angle. But like
Yeah.
you didn't see like the New York Times or anybody cover it. Just
Right.
did was your trust in the media harmed because of GamerGate, or was it improved? Or
I'd say it was pretty low to begin with, honestly, but just kind of like the pettiness was kind of what surprised me. Where there was kind of like this sort of like with the gamers who are dead and a lot of stuff, like a lot of behavior that stemmed from that was there was this personal animus towards people who would dare question their ethics, that kind of thing, that kind of threw me, because I kind of thought of journalists as more the jaded, flat out don't care anymore about like just write words on a page, I've seen it all before, and then find there is a passion, but not the way I was expecting.
if you could
Like
have
that aspect would describe me.
if you could have changed one thing about GamerGate, what would it be?
The name. I hate the gate suffix for scandals. Like Watergate was ages ago. Because I never liked. I think that's probably why I didn't look into it much in the first place. Was honestly the name, because there's just something about the gate thing that just kind of makes me groan a little, right? Like the art with like the two G's making a controller and stuff. We're cool with that, but never 100% sold on that name.
What would you have personally done different during GamerGate?
Probably gotten involved sooner. I felt like I missed out on a lot of the early stuff, like especially like some of the charity drives and stuff. Those I felt like I missed out on. Like I did. Like I remember that actually inspired me to be more charitable in general, just because like some of the people I met through GamerGate just talking about good cause, like, hey, I should donate to that. Just kind of felt like, oh, like I missed out on some of the big drives they did early on.
Well, that's interesting because I was talking with somebody a couple of days ago. I don't think it was Paulo who said this. It was somebody else I interviewed, but they said that. Oh, I think it was Pucka Shop. They said that they wish they spent less time on Gamergate, and you kind of wish you spent more.
Yeah, whereas it was a crazy time. It was maybe not like, yeah, I probably like got more intense and involved at times, but I remember having like a lot of fun meeting a lot of people I enjoyed interacting with, and I getting to have spent more time with them before they were, well, in a lot of cases they were kicked off various platforms and stuff and lost touch, or they just kind of burned out and left. Getting to know them like at their most passionate, I think would have been a lot of fun. Probably would have burned out myself. I don't know, but grass is always greener.
Yeah, it was interesting because a lot of people did get burned out. I mean, this thing went on for years, so I get it.
Yeah,
No, and you can only
yeah,
maintain that level of passion for so long. I'm surprised I did as long as I did. Um,
yeah.
But yeah, it's and then of course like once people get burned out, they're like, man, I just wasted like 6,000 hours of my life on this stuff. Like, what have I done?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, we did a lot of good stuff, So it was.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. I mean, I wish I did say with the Pucka Shop interview, I agreed. I said I wish I would have spent less time on it too, and that's true. Um, I wish I would have. I wish I would have interacted with it differently in like a healthier way, because
Mm.
I feel like I was trying to do everything.
Yeah.
I was involved in. I was like posting on like the like other I was literally I talk about Gamergate anywhere it was talked about pretty much. So I'd go on like
Yeah.
RPG Codex, the Face Punch forums, like I'd go on Space Battle, like all these MMO Champion, GameSpot, they all
Yeah.
ran their own like Gamergate communities
Yeah.
separate from like the mainstream forums and stuff. It's like I'd be on like
Yeah.
RPG Codex and talking to those people about Gamergate. I was like, these are the only posts I'm ever making on RPG Codex. Like, it's like okay, all
Yeah.
right, maybe that's a bit much. Like it was my life for a while there, and I feel like
Yeah.
I wish I had a better balance with it, but I don't regret my involvement at all. We were
Yeah.
good people. We did a lot of good things. We didn't get everything we wanted. We didn't get a lot of what we
Yeah.
wanted, but we had a positive change on the world. I think that
Yeah.
the torrential downpour stuff and the localization of games, I think we probably did have like a real impact there.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, like Fire Emblem Fates and stuff like that was butchered to hell and back,
Oh. Oh
and
yeah.
we don't see. At least I haven't seen. I don't play a lot of JRPGs, but it doesn't seem like anything on that scale is happening now. Like I'm sure that there's
Yeah.
still stuff that gets censored in localization, but it's not
Yeah.
anywhere on that level.
Yeah. Whereas I think that was also like the first time there'd been like a real like backlash against that kind of thing, where like there's kind of the nostalgia for the old like Final Fantasy VI or whatever one that was with like the you spoony bar and all that kind of stuff, where it kind of came more of a like no, we do actually want to have an experience kind of like it was originally intended.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, then like apparently, like Ace Combat 3, I think it was like one of the most butchered games of all time back in like the
No.
early 2000s, or was it?
Yeah.
What year was that? Let's see. Were they the North American version of the game? 2000. Okay. Well, it was released
Okay.
in Japan in '99, North America and Europe in 2000. But they took
Okay.
out like the entire story, and they
Yeah.
took out like half the missions, and it's literally the whole. They took out the whole story. So
Yeah.
the game is literally just like go fly around, blow shit up. Like in Japan, there's a whole story with multiple endings,
Yeah.
and there's like twice as many missions, and like yeah, no, North America didn't get that at all, and that's a scandal, and it should be a scandal.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 10 years from now, and an online movement is looking to Gamergate, Black Lives Matter, and Occupy Wall Street for guidance for their movement. What advice do you have for them?
Let's see. I guess well, first, don't let it consume your life. Second, know specifically what you're after. Don't plan on it going forever, even if you're having fun in the moment. Try to find like-minded people. Like form like don't necessarily like be in there to fight enemies. Try to make friends. That's going to make things a lot better for the entire experience. Reach out, like try to find people who will spread your message. Like work with them when you can, and when you can't, do what you can to spread it yourself. Like it's going against the grain is something most people don't do for a reason. So it's not an easy task, and I don't have a perfect solution, but GamerGate was one of the more successful ones I've ever seen, and I'm glad I was part of it.
Have you personally learned anything during your years in Gamergate? Or time in Gamergate, I should say?
Uh, hmm. I guess a lot of it's more like about like the personal interactions, because like I like what like definitely like I'm definitely like have to actively try to avoid the whole echo chamber thing, because that's definitely something I tend towards. And seeing the value of moving outside that was like the time I stepped out of that the most was some of the most fun I've had in my life. So it's something I probably wouldn't have found out otherwise. But like definitely like allowing free speech, like let bad ideas be heard so they can be argued against, like even Nazis, like if no one knows that it's there, how are they gonna know to argue against it? Have it there to be like taken down the way it should. you know
Yeah, I agree. Christopher Hitchens' speech on free speech. Have you seen that?
it's been a while.
Oh, it's glorious. When you censor somebody, you're not just determining what they can or can't say. You're determining what you can or can't hear.
Right.
He has like a much more in-depth analysis than just that. But
Right.
so you think GamerGate was pretty successful then, huh?
Like like it didn't like revolutionize gaming journalism going forward, but in the sense that like it 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 created such a change that like 9 years later people are still bringing it up in a way that you know like Occupy Wall Street was a much more visible movement, I'd say, because there's like much more of a boots on the ground kind of thing, but people don't bring it up as much anymore, despite there being like similar levels of passion. So yeah, GamerGate, there was something special about it.
What do you think of this interview project?
Uh, it's interesting. Like I hope it goes well. Trying to correct the narrative that it tried so hard to make sure was one very very specific thing is a tough task, but someone should definitely try tackling it.
And to be clear, I just want to clarify. I actually don't necessarily. My objective, I should say, is not to really change the narrative. Like, I think that would be
Okay.
nice, but
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to give people a chance to tell their stories and on both sides
Right.
and just hear them out. That's really what I want.
Yeah. There definitely was more nuance than you can just find from a like a quick internet search. Like a lot more. So yeah, on both sides.
Some people reading this might hold a negative view of Gamergate. Do you have anything you want to say to those people?
It's at the end of the day, it was just a bunch of people like very passionate about playing video games who wanted to stop people who were criticizing them from being able to enjoy their hobby. Like that's basically people who just wanted to have fun were antagonized, and they were antagonized so hard people are talking about it almost a decade later.
Anything?
It's we did not pick the fight.
We did not pick the fight. That's an interesting phrasing. You feel like this was something that happened to us rather than something that we chose.
Like for example, like the whole worrying about the whole like possible collusion, and did Zoe Quinn actually like earn her awards and her positive press coverage, or was that something else? What was a pretty minor thing, because like 99% of people have never heard of the game, but just like the level of like the gamers are dead, like moving so quickly, like moving on to mainstream media press about like devs being harassed. Like it moved so quickly and so hard in one direction that the fact that like people stood up against it and kept standing up kind of made it a much bigger thing than I think anyone was expecting.
Is there anything else you want to talk about regarding Gamergate?
Mm, I think that covers pretty much like all the main points I can think of.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. I know this was I mean, you got a mic just for this, right?
Yep.
That's
Totally,
awesome.
totally new to doing this. Yeah.
How'd it go?
Uh, I hope the second half was better than the first.
significantly. No
Okay,
offense.
good.
No, you look.
No.
You're obviously not a professional media person, and
Yeah.
it's interesting too because as I've been, this part's not being in the book, by the way, so that's over. We're done. We can talk freely.
Okay.
We are still on air though, so don't say like, don't give me your phone
Right.
number or anything. Um,
Right.
unless you want us to go off air, we can go off air.
Eh, That's cool.
Um, but it's interesting doing this interview project. You meet so many different people who have like very different styles of talking, and
Yeah.
like some different levels of being used to this, of being
Yeah.
in the spotlight, and it's interesting to see, just like this wide, just there's like so much diversity just in the five people I've interviewed, and with their
Yeah.
experiences, with their backgrounds, with why they got involved, with why they care about this stuff, with what they think GamerGate was about. Uh,
Right.
there's just such a great amount of diversity, just that. And that's, I mean, partly I wanted to get like a good cross sample of
Yeah.
GamerGate people too. Like I didn't want to just like interview my friends from GamerGate, right? Like I could do that
Right.
anytime I wanted. I wanted to get people who have very different perspectives on this. Like I'm interviewing
Yeah.
a, Christine Hoff Summers and Michael Kretzky. They're both confirmed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm interviewing also a bunch of people from the creative freedom side of things. Also people who thought that GamerGate should have only been about ethics. A couple people were game developers even,
Hmm.
and some anti-GamerGate people as well. So I think it's an
Okay.
interesting project.
Yeah.
All right, well, hey, thanks for coming on, man. Anything else you want to talk about, or?
No, that should cover it. I'm not this bad when I've got a script, but I'm not much better.
Dude, no, you're fine. Well, look, the video, you're gonna look at the video and you're gonna watch it and you're like, oh no, I was really fumbling over my words there. But obviously, we can, when it's in text format though, when I edit it,
Yeah.
I could take out the uhs and and the dead space. Don't worry about that. That's
Right.
fine because this
Okay.
is for the book mostly. Like
Right.
obviously, if people watch the video and they learn something exciting from that, I think that's good
Yeah.
too. But awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming on, man. That's awesome. It's good
Yeah.
to
Thanks
talk
for
to you.
having me.
We've talked in text before. I think you used to be in my chat quite a bit, actually, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. When I was a streamer in the GG days. But
Yeah.
we hadn't talked. We talked on Twitter, of course. We followed each other, but I don't think
Right.
we never talked on voice before today. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, have a good night, man.
All right. You too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Now I've got to decide what I'm going to do tonight because I've been invited to join this panel. Food Shops is hosting a panel, food for thought on this stupid drama involving President Sunday and Brianna Wu of all people, oddly enough. Um, and apparently there's some sort of drama regarding trans medicalism.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm not super familiar with it. I don't really usually follow drama. Like that's not the kind of content I make in this space. But
Yeah. I did kind of get burned out on the drama aspect myself.
yeah, but it could be there. I mean, I think that the topic actually kind of is interesting and worth exploring, the trans medicalism stuff, but like not the
Yeah.
specifics of the drama surrounding it between
Right.
like these two random content creators.
Right.
Yeah. Well, hey, have a good night.
All right. You too.
We're gonna raid food shops on YouTube, and we're gonna. Oh, thanks for watching. I see people in the chat are saying thanks for having the stream, and we'll raid DJ Yam Yams on Twitch.